Women hold up half the sky. This is a well-known saying in China. It's been 3 decades since China declared gender equality a basic national policy. So, what is the progress in social status of Chinese women today? Hello and welcome to Footprints. I'm Bob Jones. In this podcast, we will find the answer from Guo Ye, director of the Women's Studies Institute of China, who has been actively involved in the promotion of gender equality and women empowerment. In the last few months, Guo Ye has been very busy. As the director of the Women's Studies Institute of China, she whirlwinded between forums and seminars, sharing her institute's experience and best practices in advancing women's development. At the same time, she closely followed the 2025 Global Leaders Meeting on Women, recently held in Beijing. The event was co-hosted by China and UN Women, with the goal of injecting new momentum into promoting global gender equality and the comprehensive development of women. Guo Ye believes in this day and age, some challenges women face still prevail, and it's necessary to revisit the topic of women's development and build global consensus on women's issues across the world.
在这个性别平等和妇女发展的议题上，现在有不同的声音。
There are now diverse voices on issues related to gender equality and women's development. Globally, problems such as poverty, violence, and gender discrimination still exist to varying degrees. Meanwhile, women face new challenges in areas like the digital gender gap and climate change.
30 years ago, in 1995, the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women was held in Beijing. The conference adopted the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, identifying some of the critical areas of concern for women's development and the advancement of women's rights globally. It was also at this conference that China declared its adoption of gender equality as a basic national policy. Guo Ye says one of the most important outcomes of the 1995 conference was a conceptual shift.
It established that women's issues are not women's issues alone. They require the concerted efforts of society as a whole. Back then, the strategy was to incorporate gender perspectives into legislation, policymaking, and program design. Because women bear unique reproductive responsibilities, their specific interests deserve due attention and protection.
As one of the first 49 countries to pledge full implementation of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, China has since further strengthened the protection of women's rights and interests. A white paper recently issued by the State Council Information Office specifies China's practices and achievements in promoting women's all-round development in the new era. According to this paper, 690 million Chinese women have entered a moderately prosperous society in step with the nation. In 2025, females accounted for more than half of college students nationwide and over 40% of the total employed population in China. Meanwhile, the average life expectancy of Chinese women has exceeded 80 years. Also, between 1995 and 2024, China's maternal mortality rate fell by about 76.9%, well below the global average. The World Health Organization has listed China as one of the 10 high-performing nations in maternal and child health. Guo Ye attributes this achievement to effective measures for maternity care.
中国不是花了最多的钱，但是想了最多的办法去降低这个孕产妇死亡率。
China didn't spend the most money. It came up with some of the most effective methods. One major measure to reduce maternal mortality was increasing hospital delivery rates. Through initiatives like the Mother's Health Express, we provided medical access to remote areas, mountainous regions, and pastoral zones lacking adequate health resources, helping women give birth safely.
Guo Ye's institute, the Women's Studies Institute of China undertakes several core functions, including conducting nationwide surveys on women's progress in economic and social development, particularly rural women, and gender equality assessments of national laws and policies. It also evaluates the effectiveness of pilot projects launched by the All China Women's Federation that aimed at improving the lives of rural women. In recent years, Guo Ye and her institute have also been engaged in research on women's development in the digital era, climate change, and women's influence. She shares China's experience in enhancing women's capabilities through integrated measures in education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation.
我们在脱贫的时候，不仅仅是经济脱贫。
When we worked to alleviate poverty, we focused not only on increasing incomes, but also on improving health, education, and long-term human development. When I speak with foreign friends, I often say that China is far more than just Beijing and Shanghai. We also have mountainous, pastoral, and remote regions where transportation is limited. But we built infrastructures such as water, electricity, roads, and internet access to ensure that people in these areas, especially women, to have the basic conditions for development.
According to her, the All China Women's Federation at various levels have rolled out the Women's E-Commerce Training Initiative, where they collaborate with enterprises to jointly develop training content tailored for rural women. To support female entrepreneurship, the organization also partners with financial institutions to launch microfinance programs for women. By connecting various stakeholders, including women entrepreneurs, agricultural researchers, and female farmers, the initiative establishes a Women's Science and Technology Agricultural Support Expressway, facilitating the direct delivery of technology, funding, and talent resources to grassroots levels. By 2020, China had provided skills training to more than 10 million impoverished women and grassroots female leaders. From 2023 to 2024, the Rain and Dew program funded vocational education for 632,000 women. Data shows by 2020, China had met the UN 2030 Agenda's poverty reduction goal 10 years ahead of schedule, lifting over 44 million rural women out of absolute poverty. Guo was particularly happy to see the progress among rural women.
我们在新中国成立的时候，90%的女性的文盲。
When the People's Republic of China was newly founded, 90% of illiterate women lived in rural areas. Today, 9-year compulsory education covers the entire country, and girls' enrollment in primary and middle schools is on par with that of boys. We now see a new generation of female farmers who can operate drones for seeding, and many rural women who are thriving in e-commerce live streaming. Education has improved their livelihoods, enhanced their capabilities, and boosted their self-confidence.
To empower disadvantaged girls with education, the country's Spring Bud Project, a public welfare program that commits to improving the education conditions of girls in poverty-stricken regions, has supported around 4.4 million girls in order to receive proper education since its launch in 1989. The project earned UNESCO's Prize for Girls and Women's Education, and according to Guo Ye, the Spring Bud Project has even been budding in other countries and illuminated the path to a bright future for girls there.
现在呢，就是我们在推广，就是到南方国家。
We're now extending the Spring Bud Project to countries in the global south, where it has attracted great interest. A pilot project has already begun in Cambodia.
In the meantime, the country has also provided women in poverty-stricken areas with technological training. For example, Yunzhao technology is a hybrid grass technology used for poverty alleviation by providing a low-cost method for growing mushrooms and other fungi, producing livestock feed and improving soil quality. In doing so, it helps create sustainable livelihoods. This technology has even benefited women struggling below the poverty line in Africa. Over the years, China has advanced global governance on women's issues, training over 200,000 female professionals from more than 180 countries and regions, especially in the Global South. You're listening to Footprints. We'll take a short break. Next, the women's rights expert will tell us about the recent focuses of her women empowerment work. You're listening to Footprints. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, the belief women hold up half the sky has motivated numerous Chinese women to compete with their male peers for excellence in the workplace and in other fields. Over the years, more and more outstanding females have emerged as top scientists, astronauts, pilots, athletes, and entrepreneurs. To name just a few, Tu Youyou won the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for discovering a new way to treat malaria. Wang Yaping became China's first female astronaut who walked in space. And Fan Jinshi has made a lifelong study of the ancient Mogao grottos in Dunhuang, whose research has been critical in the preservation of the ancient grotto art. For that, she is known as the daughter of Dunhuang. Guo Ye believes enhanced personal capabilities of today's females and an enabling environment that gives more opportunities to women are both contributing to their outstanding performance. Still, she recognizes the need for policy support to address structural barriers, such as gender bias in the technology sector, and calls for the elimination of gender labels. She believes professional competence has little to do with gender difference.
我认为专业素质不应该有性别的标签。
Professional competence should not carry a gender label. Research has not found any significant difference in intelligence between men and women. However, the proportion of women in engineering, mathematics, and science remains relatively low worldwide. Beyond certain biases, scientific research often demands sustained and intensive effort. If the surrounding environment does not provide sufficient support, many women may hesitate to continue their research.
Guo Ye says China has implemented national policies to support female scientists so they can play a larger role in scientific and technological innovation. For her part, she advocates promoting gender equality through temporary special measures, emphasizing the importance of providing women with fair development opportunities rather than privileges. For example, through policy design that supports female talents in science and technology. But would offering policy support to female scientists be seen as favoritism? Guo Ye doesn't think so.
This is not favoritism. It's what the international community calls temporary special measures, which are measures taken to promote equality. Our pursuit of gender equality isn't about achieving an exact 50-50 numerical balance or seeking unreasonable privilege. What we want is fair opportunity for development for both genders. When a woman's personal ability and professional competence match the requirements, she should be given a fair chance to shine, free of gender bias.
According to the recent white paper on China's practices and achievements in promoting women's all-round development in the new era, in 2024, there were 2.8 million female researchers in China, an increase of nearly 1.7 million since 2012. These days, Guo Ye has been paying a lot of attention to issues such as women's development in the digital era, climate change, and the influence of women. Since China's reform and opening up, especially over the past 30 years, the country's economy has developed rapidly, and people's living standards have steadily improved. But, she stresses, economic development does not naturally translate into gender equality.
Economic growth does not automatically lead to gender equality. Looking at the history of women's development across the world, in many countries it was generally the elite class women who advanced first, while the majority of women's interests were not fully realized.
Throughout her career, Guo Ye has put equal weight on a legal base for women's rights and female empowerment in real-life scenarios. With a background in law, she's been involved in the making and amending of several major Chinese laws regarding women's rights, including China's anti-domestic violence law, amendments to the marriage law, criminal law, and law on the protection of women's rights and interests. She has also contributed to the formulation and revision of several laws that safeguard rural women's land rights. Today, China has built a legal framework for protecting women's rights and interests, centered on the Constitution and the law on the protection of women's rights and interests, supported by over 100 related laws and regulations. Despite the remarkable progress, women may still face some workplace challenges due to pregnancy, childbirth, and childcare responsibilities. Guo Ye is concerned with the issue of childcare costs. She says ideally, the costs of hiring women of childbearing age should be reasonably shared.
Our institute has worked with the National Healthcare Security Administration to study how these costs should be allocated. We believe that, ideally, they should be shared among government fiscal funds, social insurance, enterprises, and families. Society needs to recognize that childbirth benefits everyone. It is a collective social responsibility. Too often, we measure a person's value solely by economic output, assuming that those who earn money are somehow superior to those who stay home to raise children. This is a misunderstanding of worth.
She says the country has also made laws and regulations raising gender equality awareness and guiding society to give more room for female development during childbirth. She also advocates for male participation in parenting to promote equality within families.
During the 14th five-year plan period, China introduced a parental leave to encourage men to participate in childcare. I personally advocate for greater male involvement, not only as a responsibility, but as a valuable experience for men's personal growth. Being deprived of the chance to accompany one's child's growth is also a kind of loss.
Women make up half of the global population. The global challenges of achieving gender equality and women's development remain. Whether the issue is poverty, childcare responsibilities at home, or the invisible glass ceiling in the workplace. Globally, more action is needed to advance gender equality and empower women and girls worldwide. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Footprints. Thank you for your company. If you're interested in hearing more about the lives of ordinary but incredible people in China, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just key in Footprints and you can find more stories anytime, anywhere. I'm Bob Jones. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.